What even is graphic design? As designers, we get this question a lot, and it all starts with communication. Let's go back in time. Early writing first emerged in the Paleolithic period around 35,000 BCE. People communicated in pictographs, or pictures. Then cuneiform was developed. The crowning system of communication for ancient peoples was the Egyptian hieroglyphs. A major breakthrough in communication happened with the development of the alphabet. In 1500 BCE, the North Semitic alphabet emerged, and then the Greek alphabet in 400 BCE. While the West was developing alphabets, the East developed in a different way. They modernized their native pictographic systems of writing into the calligraphic systems that we recognize as Asian writing. China in particular is credited for developing paper. Beginning around the 5th century CE, the illuminated manuscript began to emerge. The style of these manuscripts contained a lot of rich and heavy patterns. Finally, the printing press was invented, and around 1450, Johannes Gutenberg produced the first printed book, the Gutenberg Bible. Books could now be produced quickly and in mass quantities. What began to mark the German manuscript was the heavy use of woodcut images in the prints. Typography began to develop in both Italy and Germany, and the overall style began to forsake much of the decoration of the ancient manuscripts in favor of more streamlined, simple layout. Around 1470, graphic design began to flourish anew, a renaissance. Printers' marks became common. Typography was blooming, and the style strayed from the heavy hand of German textura typefaces and began to explore more elegant, simple ones. In the 1700s, new typefaces were designed and layouts became more geometric. New papermaking methods were developed, and Giambattista Bodoni introduced a new style of type with stark contrast between thick and thin lines. The Industrial Revolution brought quantity to graphic design. Hundreds of typefaces emerged, advertising became king, and color printing quickly became the norm. The arts and crafts movement in the early 1900s countered the rampant growth of the Industrial Revolution in favor of a more personal, crafted feel. Graphic design took an artistic turn, returning to more stylistic line art. Art Nouveau followed, and floaty, elegant coloring of less complex and more gestural images became popular. Some of the most iconic graphic images come from this time period, many from the prominent artist Peter Behrens. 20th century design was simple, elegant, and geometric. Designers of the Glasgow School and Gustav Klimt relied on classical form in their design. Modern movements challenged the concepts of the past. Cubism, Futurism, Dadaism, and Surrealism considered concepts of science and industry, anti-art, rebellion, and raw emotions. Design during this time was influenced by modern art and the needs of both world wars. Placastille was a poster style that used flat color shapes, the product name, and the product image. Between the two world wars, faith in the machine showed up in design. The Russian suprematism movement believed that art should be a spiritual activity and was concerned with pure forms. Constructivism favored applied art with a social purpose and exalted the machine. In 1919, the Bauhaus School unified art and technology to solve design problems created by industrialization. The new typography movement began, and the slate was wiped clean. Prior to the 1930s, design consisted of a more traditional, illustrated style. Then a migration of designers coming to America formed an important phase for the development of graphic design. The international typographic style in the 1950s emerged, and many new typefaces were created, including Helvetica, Palatino, Universe, and Optima. In the 1940s, American design was more intuitive. Designers tried to reduce designs to a single dominant image. Corporate identities began to become developed, and form followed a function. A visual system of pictograms began for the Olympics. Graphic designers had to figure out how to communicate abstract messages with conceptual images. The hippie culture was also appearing in design through psychedelic posters. Postmodern design challenged order and clarity. New wave typography went against the cleanness of other typographic styles. With technology growth, different cultures mingled more about different approaches to design. Countries rebuilt their design styles, borrowing from other cultures. In the 1990s, the Mac II caused a technological revolution which led to the expansion of education and professional activity. New types of images and form were created. Well, that brings us to the current times, and to answer the question, graphic design is visual communication.